Alright, Freddy vs. Jason, Part 4, in-depth horror discussion. We left off with Freddy's killing...
At the asylum.
So Jason's killing people.
So Jason's killing all the Springwood residents.
Nah, we're just joking. Alright, so no, we left off where they leave
and
the
Freddy's
psych ward.
pissed off.
They leave the psych
so they
ward.
got beef.
They leave the psych ward and then they put Jason's body in the freaking van and they're going to Camp Crystal Lake. And freaking, this is where it cuts though to freaking Jason's under and he's in his dream.
Yeah, because they shot him up with the tranks and
this is where he's freaking.
This
inside.
is round 1 of Freddy vs. Jason where they finally meet in his.
Yeah, Jason's in Freddy's world in his dream inside like that dark, all red. It's all red shots. It's pretty tight. And he's like, "Why won't you die?" And he's freaking slashing him, cutting him a whole bunch of times. It's tight.
Oh yeah, and then in the middle of this they show the Jason's getting his ass kicked because he's in Freddy's world. And this is when they show the freaking pinball shot where he goes, and I counted it, it's like 13 to like 16 times.
And it's doing the pinball machine noise.
I remember my friend saw this first and he mentioned that to me. He used to always say that.
No, he'd always say, he'd be like, yeah, they just put that in there for the stoners. That's what he would say. But no, anyways. No, even before that though, freaking Jason's like takes away the machete. From or no, he has a machete and he freaking hits Freddy and he cuts off both his arms and Freddy falls on the ground.
And grows it back.
And the blood, but the blood squirts out of both his arms where it's cut off and it's like, oh.
Gotta love the gore in this movie.
Grows him back, does the pinball machine thing, and then he's like, why won't you die? And then he's like, come on. And then
then it turns to a green.
Oh yeah, it turns to the green fade.
Awesome.
Turns all green. And then freaking, he's like, come on, and then there's the water pouring down, and then he realizes
it's the factory.
He realizes he's afraid of the freaking water, so then he pours the water on all sides of him.
Hey, it's Jason's Achilles heel.
But then this time it cuts back to the van, and they're like,
and the main cast is driving, and they're like, we're going to Crystal Lake.
And he's like, alright, put Lois.
So, because we need Jason, because they want Jason to kill Freddy, so it cancels them both out, and they're driving.
And Letterman's like,
Jason
he's like,
back to Crystal Lake.
He's like, that's the last trank.
And they're like, so Jason has home field. They're like, at least Jason will have home field advantage.
And then Letterman's like putting the last trank inside Jason. He's like, alright, that's the last trank, and then a little bit for Lori. And then so then they put Lori under to go in there to freaking. To get him, but then also cuts back and freaking Freddy's putting Freddy's putting his claw to his freaking head and he's like, he takes off his mask.
Yeah, because Jason shrivels up to a little boy.
Yeah, and he's like, you ugly little bitch. No, he's like, you ugly.
Freddy's lines are classic
he's like, you
in
ugly
this
little
vintage
shit.
Freddy, Robert Englund.
So he calls him an ugly little shit when he takes off his mask, and then freaking he's crying.
So then Jason goes from that dream and he starts dreaming about his childhood when he died at Camp Crystal Lake as a little kid.
Freddy goes through his memories.
Getting teased on.
Yeah, Freddy goes through his memories, but it's still a dream. And then Lori shows up in the dream at Camp Crystal Lake right when she goes under.
Aren't you gonna help Jason?
And then it's freaking like the
Freddy's trying to get his dick wet, like with some dead bitch
like,
in there in Jason's dream. It's hilarious.
She's like, yeah, coming, and he's like, yeah, this bitch is dead on her feet.
He's getting his dick wet, sir.
From freaking Planet Terror.
That's what I thought when I saw it.
Bruce Willis is like...
So Jason starts drowning. They kind of reenact
that. She
She
runs to go and help him on the dock. And then Freddy comes up and he's like... pulls him down.
No, then out of nowhere they crash because Jason starts waking up because the tranks are waking up. And it crashes like it's H2O or something.
They crash, and then right before Freddy's...
Oh, I gotta mention this. Then they do the ripcord thing with the stuntman where they pull the guy back. They do that like 3 times in this movie.
Anyway, so freaking...
And Jason's body just shoots out of the van.
Freddy's drowning him, and freaking right when they crash, and then freaking in the middle of him getting drowned, boom, he wakes up.
Oh, then Lori,
and then he gets taken out of the dream.
And they're like, Lori's like, put me under, so
I could that, you fucking faggot. So let's go. Anyway, so freaking no. So then freaking he wakes up out of the dream when they crash. Jason does.
Someone's got balls.
And then Lori's still stuck in the dream. So then Jason's like, what the? I almost had him. And then So then he takes Lori though to freaking back to 1428, back at that house. And then freaking. And then so the kids out of the crash van, they run to the camp.
And she sees her mom dying, so she knows that Freddy did it.
So then anyways, so freaking she wakes up and freaking pulls him out of the freaking dream. Oh, we forgot to mention...
Oh yeah, Freddy's like, I've always had a thing for the whores in this house.
No, we forgot to mention back when the cop shows up at their house. When she wakes up, she pulls out Freddy's ear. She pulls Freddy's ear out of the dream. That's tight. Anyway, so back to this. So then freaking now they're both woken up.
So they go to a cabin at Crystal Lake.
They run in there and they see Jason when they're running, so they run into the cabin. But then no, so then now Laurie wakes up. No. Before she wakes up, freaking Jason's trying to kill them inside the cabin, like slashing. Oh, and then freaking Leonardman.
In the dream though, Freddy's like, "Welcome to my world, bitch." That infamous line.
No, and then Leonardman freaking picks up the American flagpole.
No, Jason slashes her boyfriend Will, so he's fucked up for the rest of the movie. Script convenience, so they make Laurie the heroine.
He's not that jacked up though.
They make it jacked up because he doesn't do shit the rest of the movie.
They're in the cabin. Leonardman runs at him with the flagpole, stabs Jason, and then Jason whips him back, and they do the freaking ripcord freaking thing where they pull him back into the thing. And he gets stabbed.
What was up with that?
He gets stabbed on the thing in the back of the wall. And it's like, oh,
like I
the blood.
haven't seen that in every 90s
No, and then this is
movie.
where Laurie wakes up and freaking
like
brings Freddy Krueger
shit.
back. This is where she brings him back inside the cabin. It's all the fire going on. And then this is where they fight for the second round 2 inside the cabin.
Round 2, Freddy vs. Jason.
And it's like rock playing. It's like, Genie.
Yeah, what was up with the hardcore rock during that instead of horror music?
Myers Fan 25 loves the rock and WWE wrestling.
Nate Dunning's like a heavy metalhead.
Yeah, so they liked it. Actually, no, he hated it. Anyways, so
Eric Vierthaler
so then freaking Freddy Jason picks up Freddy and he's smashing him through the window and dragging him all through the windows. And it's tight.
And this is when Linderman and
the black chick run out. And she's like, we gotta get help.
This shot is awesome.
She takes him to the tree and he's like, sit me down.
Slowly dying.
He's like, you go get help. I can't go on.
And they settled the movie down for this this scary moment where he's dying. And they pan the camera down slowly. Awesome shot.
Yeah, she runs for help, and then it's him, and he's like still breathing, and then he stops, and it's his eyes still open, and then it cuts down to the blood, to the blood on the side of him, trailing him on the bottom of the tree, and it's like, oh, and it's shining, the blood shining in the dark.
For sure.
Anyways, it's all
Horror Nights
black.
1. Do a video of the kills in this movie.
Anyways,
You da me.
Anyway, so it cuts to freaking cuts to Jason them fighting, and then freaking Jason throws Freddy like through the roof, and he falls through another roof in another cabin, and they run out. Oh, they're still freaking.
No, and this is when so then Jason goes to kill them, and this is when the black bitch Kelly Rowland shows up, and she's like, "Hey, Freddy, you want a piece of me?" And then that's when she's like, "You think you're so smart, bitch?"
And he's like, "Oh."
And Freddy's like, "You think you're smart, bitch?"
And he's like, "Oh, how nice, dark meat."
That was offensive to the Myers Fan 25.
Yeah, that was offensive.
But not to me,
but not
we're
to
white
me.
as hell.
Actually, we're white and half Mexican. But anyways, so then they start fighting now. So then freaking she gets killed. He tells the black chick to turn around, and Jason slots her and kills her to a tree. And then they do the ripcord again, pull her to a tree. And then freaking, that's like the third time they do the ripcord. No, anyways.
I'm not even going to repeat her line.
So then it's freaking Jason and Freddy fighting, and it's like a construction site, freaking, like in 2003.
Yeah, they decided to finally renovate Crystal Lake in 03. They're like, hey, it's 03, let's recreate this.
So then freaking Freddy Krueger's
even
like...
though it's a total set.
Freddy Krueger's like...
line.
Torpedoes away, man the torpedoes, and he freaking hits those tanks. He hits those oxygen tanks or something. Freaking, it shoots at freaking Freddy and knocks him down. Or no,
those shots are tight.
Hits Jason, knocks him down, and then freaking Freddy's like, "Hey asshole, up here!" And it's like the funniest shit.
Freddy's lines are hilarious.
He sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. He's like, "Up here,"
He does,
and then
exactly.
Freddy looks up, and then freaking Freddy knocks down all those freaking concrete poles.
Yeah, and he shoots the And while he shoots the torpedo at Jason, he flies up in the air with the ripcord thing, and he's holding onto the machete like he's an action figure or something.
Still holding the freaking machete like he's an action figure.
No, then Laurie and her boyfriend stay to see the ending. They get front row seats. They're like, he killed my mom, so I want to see how this goes down.
And he's like, oh, okay, that's what happened. Okay.
And he's like, my dad covered it up to protect me.
To protect us, and nobody would know about Freddy. He's like, okay, that's good, it's good script. Good. All right, so anyway, so they stay to watch him get killed, and then it cuts back to him fighting. He drops the poles, and it stabs like through Jason's legs, it stabs through his body, and it's like his legs.
Oh, those shots
and the blood's
are
all squirting out of his legs and everything, and it's dope. And then no, Freddy rams him with the freaking like thing that's hanging, that big old metal thing.
And then so it knocks them onto the docks, and they start fighting onto the docks. We're not even going to go into the specific parts, but you're an idiot. Wow, it's not the explosion. The thing's flying around and it hits them onto the docks, moron.
No, Freddy, before that though, Freddy's going to push that thing down with the sand that's on the freaking train tracks, and it comes down, and it gets stuck, and he's like, oh, damn. And it's hilarious, and he's like...
So they get knocked onto the docks.
So they get knocked down on the docks, like JBM 2005 was saying. So freaking then it's all
Jason's no, so Freddy's kicking his ass in that whole fight in the construction site, and then they're like, "All right, now
it's
they're
time to
writing the
turn the
script.
tables.
They were told it's a total script, right?" And they're like, "All right, now Jason's kicking Freddy's ass for 5 minutes."
And he cuts him, he
It's not that
slashes him in
long,
the
but-
arm, and Freddy's all bleeding out of the arm, and it's tight, and they're on the dock. And then while this is going on, the chick is like pumping gasoline onto the dock.
And then Freddy somehow gets the machete away from Jason.
Freddy,
Then
like-
they start going back and forth, standing face to face, going blow for blow. And he gets the machete from him. He starts slicing. They're like, "Hey, let's make Freddy use Jason's freaking machete." And he starts slicing him.
It's
He's-
pretty tight.
Oh, then he stabs him in the eyes with his knives with the fingers. Oh, and it goes and the blood goes over the mask.
Oh yeah, that's dope when Freddy slashes him right in the eyes, and it's like a tight horror shot. Like, oh,
It is badass.
two iconic
this
villains.
ending is just badass. Who hates this freaking movie?
Anyway, so then freaking
People hate on remakes. I'll get to this at the ending, but yeah, Laurie.
and then it's a '90s action scene where it blows up, and then you think they. No.
Yeah, Laurie comes out holding 2 torches, and it's in slow motion.
Oh yeah, she's like,
It's like the dumbest shot ever.
To
Like
light the
one of the only
gas.
dumb shots in the whole movie.
So she throws on, lights the gas, the whole place explodes. It's like a '90s.
No,
freaking
Jason
explosion.
rips off Freddy's arm.
It's like a '90s action movie.
Jason rips off Freddy's arm, and then the propane dock explodes.
And you think they're both dead, but then freaking no. And then freaking the Laurie and her boyfriend are right there, like, oh, it's over. And then freaking Jason comes up. You think it's Jason because they just show the machete in his legs,
Like stomping like a hippopotamus
they
on
play
the
the
deck.
music. They play the thing like he's stomping, and he's going all slow.
And he holds the machete
and
up,
then
and
in
you
the
still
camera,
think it's Jason.
and the
Then
camera
it pans up
camera
on
angle
him.
goes up, and it's Freddy. And you're like, oh. And then Jason pops out off the dock with his arm, with Freddy's arm,
and stabs it right through his heart,
right
through
through
the
him.
back.
And you're like,
Badass.
oh. And then
And
he falls
right into the water.
And then Jason's like, all right, now I'm dead.
He's
And
like,
he
the
goes,
last thing I gotta do. He's like, I gotta kill Freddy.
and he
Because
falls,
he's
and then
addicted.
he goes back under the
It's
water.
a drug.
And then Freddy falls in the water, and it's like,
If you're a serial
oh.
killer, you know what I'm talking about. You could relate to that scene.
So then it freaking
Then she's like, "Welcome to my world, bitch," and
Yeah,
she
she takes the
slices off
machete.
Freddy's head.
yeah, he falls down with his arm stabbed, with his own arm stabbed, and then she's like, "Welcome to my world," bitch, and slashes him with the freaking machete. His head comes off.
And then this
it's
is
like,
the next
oh.
morning.
And then it cuts to like the next morning. It's all foggy and sunlight. It's
You
tight
think
as
it's
hell.
the badass way
And
to
then
end the
freaking
movie,
Jason comes walking up out of the water, and it's like,
playing the iconic
freaking-
music,
and then
carrying Freddy's head.
and no, it's like it's African music playing right here. It's like,
Oh yeah, what was it?
it's like
Simba.
African like music, and he's like holding Freddy's head, and then freaking they show Freddy's head close up of him
And
getting
he
up
winks.
to the shore, and he winks, and
No,
you're
this
like,
reminds me of
oh.
H2O. You know when Mike Myers gets his head cut off? I think they should have made him blink or something to show that he was still alive, even though you knew he was still alive.
They had him blink.
I just gotta say that.
It was dope.
Then it cuts to the credits and it's rock music again up
and
the
you're
butt.
like, wow, rock, huh?
All right, our final thoughts. I'm gonna say this: people
up.
hate on remakes. Well, this wasn't a remake. It continues both the stories, and they weave the script together. The way they weave the script together is just poetic beautifulness,
Bottom line
if
is,
I can say.
if you're a freaking horror fan, you should freaking love that they took 2 iconic characters and mashed them up into one
Into
film.
a great script.
Yeah, and it was
with
pretty
great
good.
gore.
Good story. Tight kills.
The Dark
tight-
Knight tried to do it with Two-Face and the Joker, and look
they-
how that ended
Yeah,
up.
they fucking
They
killed Two-Face.
shoved all these stupid like minor characters
We're not gonna
into
start
it.
with the Dark Knight though,
No, I'm
'cause it
just summing
sucks
it up.
ass.
They didn't give Two-Face and the Joker screen time in that. They just mashed all these
But
stupid
with
characters
this, they
together.
freaking gave them both equal kills, and it was badass the way they did it here with two iconic
Perfect
characters.
script, perfect timing. 03 was a great year for horror movies. Freddy
So,
vs. Jason, Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes.
So JBM
Cabin
2005,
Fever.
what was your overall thoughts on it?
That was my overall thoughts, you douche.
Wasn't asked.
No, it's about as close to as a 10 out of 10 as it gets.
All right, I'll say
I'd have
freaking.
to say.
I'll say 9 out of 10.
This is a movie you could just watch over and over again because
Be
there's
like-
so many little
'cause it's-
subtle things and it moves at a great
No,
pace.
because it
like
has
we
the
said.
good, because it has the good freaking comedy, and it's freaking 2 iconic horror characters. That's why you can watch it over again. Because it's like, oh,
And the
Freddy,
lines are witty
oh,
and great
Jason.
gore.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, who's the one with the bad super toupee hair? You gotta love that shit.
Myers fan and Nate Dunning. No, Nate Dunning was like, oh, this is overrated and stupid.
I'm not even gonna talk about it. You're like, come on, Nate. You're the whole. You're the
How
horror.
can you hate on
You're
that?
the horror.
And he
YouTube.
hates on remakes, and he wants Halloween to get extended. How can you hate on it? This is the last seconds. Peace out.